I'm John Altshuler.
I'm Scott Bennett. We've known each other for almost 50 years.
We grew up together on the playground.
And now we're in the foreground and still growing up.
From the playground to the foreground.
Join the conversation. Well, back on the playground. It's our Bar Mitzvah episode.
13.
We made it.
Kudos.
13, yeah. John, how you been?
Been great.
So we hadn't talked to each other. I think we communicated you were in Austin.
Yeah.
How was the trip?
Wonderful.
Yeah. What were you there for?
Just for a UT family event.
Yeah. You've been now a couple of times, and I think we did briefly speak after, and I can sort of hear, like, is it a totally different, I mean, obviously your kid's there, but like, are you finding new things every time you go there interesting about the university, different than what you experienced? I know you're so involved with SMU.
I'm impressed with UT.
Yeah.
Way impressed.
What's just been Austin, the campus, what's the most impressive thing?
I just think it's so organized. You know, I have Tufts for my senior, I have Texas with my freshman, and then I have SMU with my own familiarity with SMU. Right. And I think Texas does a great job of organizing everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a great place.
Obviously, I love to hear that. Yeah. But it's interesting because...
And you have the context of the city, which is this dramatic, fast growth technology metropolis.
Right.
It's really cool.
Well, I think that was the draw. Yeah. And I think the thing... why I'm asking you so interested is because we've talked obviously in our previous episodes about paying the second tuition.
Yeah.
So I like the bar, like I would be disappointed if you went there and you thought, man, this is not, and we've talked about other kids getting in. I think briefly we visited about how hard we think it is.
Right.
People are so proud to get in, but you know, your involvement with SMU and then going and seeing another university, very different than yours. And in many ways, I think it's like a giant corporation with the LBJ school, the School of Law, the medical school, right? It's a huge thing. And then, of course, Hartzell leaving. So it's interesting that you think that.
Lori pointed out how important Michael Dell is to Austin and to Texas.
Yes.
I hadn't really thought about that.
I was with a family member actually yesterday of his, talking specifically about that, like how much they do. Like we mentioned in our last episode to the guys at Golf Roots that, you know, Ben was building his business in the dorm room, and that's actually how Michael Dell, he lived in the same dorm as me. But to think what they've done, can you imagine being like a freshman starting a company and then one day you have a medical school? Yeah. You know, he's solely responsible for really bringing that there. It was something that was missing. So pretty awesome. I'm glad you didn't bring it up. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. The Chiefs lost. I don't know if you saw that.
Pretty tough.
And in our own social media, and I'm sure in our own universes, I've seen some of your comments. And I told somebody I really didn't need to participate in any of the post game. They just flat out got beat.
If they played 10 times, how many times would the Chiefs win?
The same two teams?
Yeah, same two teams play 10 times, week after week after week.
Well, it's funny. Somebody asked me if you switch the quarterbacks, would the outcome be different? That was a weird question I got yesterday. Was it solely on the quarterback because we think it's a quarterback-driven league?
I think Mahomes is a better scrambler than Jalen, and I think that the problem Mahomes was having was he couldn't do anything
against a 4-man rush with no blitzes. Right. I've never, and so what's interesting to me is, and the only post game I heard is that, you know, we've always as sports fans heard that the game is won in the trenches. Andy Reid actually set that precedent.
You played in the trenches.
I mean, I had a warrant number that suggested I might play in the trenches. T-bar. Yes, but no. Andy Reid actually, before Nick Sirianni, set the precedent for how that organization we built. They've stuck to that philosophy. He was a draft that currently there. It's like the draft the best available talent because they drafted Jalen Hurts while they had Carson Wentz, and people thought that was crazy. And then as it's turned out, but as a result, now he's going to have to go back and study how he got beat because 4 down linemen manhandled the Chiefs. I mean, there's just really nothing else to say.
I still think, though, if they play 10 times, it's like 5-5. I don't think that the Eagles aren't doing that 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
They just got him that one day.
Yeah. Listen, it was a weird experience the last couple of weeks because I have to come to terms with the fact that all the things that are happening with the Cowboys, including that they gave an extension to Will McClay, who has been solely responsible for helping them find the talent during that period of time. I think the 2 weeks leading up to Super Bowl, he got a 5-year extension. And then just sort of how the league's driven. And then, of course, we get this news about Luka in our world and in our city. I don't even know. Like anywhere you go, you hear people talking about it. And then having had Rolando on, saw him, talked about it with him a little bit. It's been really interesting few weeks in sports for me. But I think what it all comes down to is really good business owners, business decision makers are winning. That's what I think. And I think you and I have had some banter with our high school friends. I think we got engaged in a little bit of a conversation. So it's been fun to be part of that. I guess that's what keeps us watching it, right?
I don't know.
I mean, I think I saw you.
The owners don't keep me watching it.
No. I mean, that it's just, there's some drama in it, but I think I saw you post something yesterday that football is your favorite sport.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, at the end of the day, these guys are getting rich. It's like another level, probably relative.
There's like 7 guys out of 53 getting rich in every team. The rest of the guys, they make good money, but they ain't getting rich.
Well, relative to the rest of the world, they are.
I bet they're making $800,000. They're spending 1.3.
Well, I think today,
I suspect.
I think today it is totally different. Right. Fair. Well, with that in mind, since we're talking about sports and we like to do that, I'm excited about our guests. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I think we will. Number one, I think our guest is an Aggie. We haven't had too much Aggie talk.
We won't have any Aggie talk. If we have Aggie talk, this show stops.
Yeah, right. This could be it. 13th episode, we get an Aggie and it's over. Right, but I thought for show and tell today, John, did you bring anything?
I always have something I can pull out.
Yeah. Well, I brought something and I was very thoughtful, and it sort of symbols who our guest is today. I want to show you something. John, for all the things I have not been with my T-Bar face mask, I have in fact had a hole-in-one. Have you had a hole-in-one?
I have not had a hole-in-one.
It's pretty. Do you know a lot of people who have?
I think so.
You do?
Probably.
Do you ask?
No.
You should start asking.
I will.
Okay. Ask them about where they had it. Might symbol our guest today what that person's experience is.
And why don't you pull out over there behind you the axe, please?
You want to the axe?
Right there. Pull it out.
Okay.
All right. So I appreciate that you have the hole in one.
I know about this.
I have this, and we'll talk about this.
I know about that too, actually. All right. So we're comparing our golf prowess, and I noticed that your index is coming down.
Yes.
In fact, I think I'm going to admit to you today that your index is now lower than mine.
Right.
I told you it wouldn't take you very long. Now you're competing against a guy who's had a few surgeries and some things. But John, with our guest, we might talk about this if it comes up. I want you to look. You can see the newspaper used to track it.
Oh, cool.
Okay. This is at the golf course which is currently now Marydoe, where they recently played the Live Team Championship. This was the former Colombian club in Carrollton. Okay.
What year was this?
It's funny. I was thinking about
04.
I knew you were going to ask me that last night. It was in 04.
04, okay.
Yep. Attested. I don't know who that was. Either that was me.
I don't think I really talked to you from, I don't know, like 98 until you turned 40,
right?
Whatever that was.
No, I saw you once or twice. We would have breakfast once a year or something.
Okay, right.
You do that for me. We go to Bubba's, I think.
Yeah.
But 04, it was on number 12. Okay, and it was a 222-yard hole-in-one. Whoa. I saw it go on the hole. Now you might ask, that's long. Long. Into a south wind. About a 20-mile-an-hour south wind.
What did you hit?
That's why.
A driver? Oh, no.
Yes, I knew. Yes. I know you don't hear that very often. It says it right there. So I thought I would bring this in today because I think it's going to be fun to talk about our guest and I think the most talked about hole-in-one right now going on in the world. I don't think there were any in the tournament this last weekend. I don't know. I didn't see. There's usually one at the in Scottsdale.
Yeah.
But I wasn't super dialed in this last weekend. And I'm more excited to talk about the hole-in-one and our guest today.
It'll be fun.
And if you want to quickly talk about the axe, I'm willing to hear about it.
We can talk about it later.
Talk about it later. Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through social at Playground Foreground.
We look forward to hearing from you.
Back on Golf Today, do you remember this video? November 11th of last year, Bryson posted it on TikTok, trying to make a hole-in-one over his own house. Been prolific on social media, twitching and posting. Well, here's how it played out. On the 16th day, his 14th shot, he gets the job done.
And he did it. He made the hole-in-one, and he's our guest today.
Welcome, Jimmy Elliott, to the Playground.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
Hey, Jimmy.
How's it going?
It's going great. So Jimmy and I met through Kyle Padron playing golf at Rivercrest 2 years ago. Yeah. And you sent me a nice book. We had some good follow-up. And then a couple weeks ago, I'm watching Bryson DeChambeau's social media and see you on it. And I'm like, watch the success. And I go back. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know that guy. Sure enough, I knew you. You know, sent you another note. You responded back, and here we are.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Have you been taking the tips from the book?
You know,
With an 84 recently?
Thank you for the 84. Yeah. I think I've been reading so many things. I don't know whose tips I'm taking at this point, but I did enjoy the book.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, Jimmy, did not know. I had seen that Bryson DeChambeau has, he does some social media actually where I play sometimes. He's got a group of friends. So he does these challenges, right? Like, I think they gave him a set of old clubs. They gave him a set of women's clubs. Like, he's real fun that way. And I think it's fun for his friends and fun for his personal brand. And I knew he had I'd seen the hitting over his house. I'd seen that. But I did not know that he had put out this competition. But why don't you tell, like, first of all, who are you? Like, I read about you, but for listeners and viewers and people who follow, a little about you, and then what has transpired? What is this thing?
Yeah, definitely. So I am Jimmy Elliott. I am a husband to my beautiful wife, Katie. I have 3 awesome kids, Beckett, who is 7, who I'm sure we will talk about today, Charlotte, who is 3, and then Hudson, who turns 4 months tomorrow.
You're busy.
So we're in the thick of it with the kids. I'm a financial advisor over in Fort Worth, so not too far on the other side of the Metroplex, the FW of the DFW. And so for the Bryson video, a buddy of mine, I didn't even know this, he sent it to me. He said, hey, Bryson's filming in Dallas. He's, fill out this form if you want to try to be included. And me personally, I fill out almost any and every form possible to try to win free things. I love winning free things. I'm going to tangent a little bit. Outside of this, my favorite thing that I've ever entered was back in 2015, there's a meat company called Tenderbelly. They serve bacon. They probably don't serve it, but they sell bacon. And before March Madness, they said, hey, if you want a chance to win a year of bacon, enter in who you think is going to win the tournament and what the final score, the combined score of the final game, the championship game is going to be. And I picked Duke and, 161 or whatever the number I picked was. And sure enough, Duke makes it to the finals, and it's Duke and 161. So I got 4 packs of bacon delivered to my front step for an entire year.
How often?
Once a month. So like on the first of the month, I got 4 packs of bacon delivered to our apartment over here in Dallas, and my cholesterol probably went up.
Yeah.
My weight went up. I think all of it. But that was the most fun up to this point thing that I'd enter.
I don't enter anything.
Really?
Like, deliberately. I don't want to win. I don't know. It's just my mindset. I would not enter.
I think like the dopamine hit of winning is just through the roof. And so I have an email back from when I was a kid that is like my go-to inner contest email.
It's funny. There's similarly, like I call myself a self-proclaimed margin killer. Like, if I have a credit card and there are benefits on it, and I've paid for the right to, I am going to double that. If you just aren't lazy, like, it's like literally people don't. So you feel
what are you talking about? What's a margin killer?
Well, if an example is if you have a credit card and they have benefits on the credit card, like if you have a platinum card or whatever, there's a fee for that card. Right, you get extra points and you can rack it up. As long as you, like the points guy, people know who that is. If you take advantage of the benefits, you get way more than whatever the card costs, like lots of benefits. But people just don't do it, and the card banks that you won't. That's what coupons are. They know that the take rate isn't there, so manufacturers put coupons out knowing that people will never use them. And now with the phone, if you're just that lazy, like you actually told me, believe it or not, speaking of golf, that because you got new golf shoes. You told me, we talked about it, I think, in the last episode.
Like 7 pairs.
Yeah, I know. Well, right. You do. But it's a big deal for me to get a new pair and to afford the pairs I get. So I got a pair of G4s because you told me they were on sale.
$90.
Yeah, but I couldn't find them. I couldn't find them. The pink one, so I got those, but I bought them on eBay, and I went on eBay. It's like the 3rd or 4th thing I've bought on eBay recently. I got them for $94. Somebody bought up the inventory. So like, if you just do work out there, if you just enter, look what you got, bacon.
Yeah, I got bacon, and then I got this opportunity to go hit a hole-in-one over Bryson's house.
So what was that opportunity?
So basically, I enter this form, or fill out the form. He says, we're filming in the next 10 days. It's December 1st. I don't hear from him for 10 days. And in my mind, I enter so many things that I'm like, you just kind of bypass it.
Did you tell him, hey, here's my skill level?
So in the form, name, email, handicap, and your social media profiles. So obviously, in my mind, they're trying to look for stories out there. the day after Christmas, I get a message on my phone that says Bryson DeChambeau wants to follow you on Instagram. And in my mind, I was like, this is one, crazy, but two, I think I might know where this is coming from. So we start messaging back and forth. He asked me to send him some swing videos, I guess, to make sure I didn't lie about my handicap. Turns out he wanted to make sure I wasn't going to break one of his windows, I think. That's what it was. Yeah. And so we go back and forth. He said the swing looked great. He'd love to include me on a video coming up. All he's told me was competition prizes. And so in my mind, that's a wide range of things to do. You know, I've played golf since I was 6. And so I'm thinking like a big break. If y'all remember the show, The Big Break, you know, you do all these challenges and then the winner gets to play Bryson, something along those lines in my mind. And so, you know, what prizes can mean anything. Still, you know, so he's like, talk to my content producer, my creative director, and, you know, we'll set you up for filming. So in my mind, you know, I'm going to go to a golf course. I'm going to be seeing a lot of people, and I'm going to try to do my best. And I love competition. So I was really excited about it. Well, the night before, so we filmed on New Year's Eve. On the 30th, I get a message from the creative director. Says, hey, meet us at this park at 9:30 and we'll take you the rest of the way. And my wife was like, are they kidnapping you? Are you sure this is real? And I was like, you know, here's the life insurance if you need it. But I think it's real. Feel pretty good about it. And so I get there and I'm the only one that's there, only person at the park. And so they take me the rest of the way. And sure enough, we drive up to Bryson's house and, you know, you get out of the car and there's just cameras on you. You know, they're like right there the whole time, his team. And they're like, you know, do you know what you're doing? And I was like, still have no idea what I'm doing. And they're like, all right, we'll tell you in just a little bit. And I was like, oh, come on. I want to know now. But we signed a bunch of forms and all of that. And then before we know, he's like, hey, you're going to try to hit the hole in one over my house. And first you get 7 hours. And if you make it, you get $100,000.
It was funny when he told you that. I felt like you were shocked you had 7 hours.
Yeah, I have a strong belief in my golf game, and I was like, in my head, I was like, I feel like I can do this. I feel like I can make this. Now, it's different than a normal golf shot, right? You can't see the hole. So you're just banking on the guy on the roof telling you, are you long, are you left, are you short, are you right? You know, and then you kind of have to mentally adjust. But I was like, I felt pretty good. I could do it in 7 hours.
Well, it's like hitting on a range. You know your distances, right? Mm-hmm. You're that good of a golfer. So you're like right or left, but once you start feeling, and so we'll talk about like the club and the choice and all that, but why 7 hours?
I do not know why they picked 7 hours. I'm just 10 to 5. I'm not sure exactly what the time frame was. I'm sure at 5 o'clock they probably wanted to be done and go home. But the nice thing was they did tell me that if I don't make the shot, the money would go to a charity of my choice. So it's kind of like a mental breather that you can say, okay, even if I don't make this, somebody is benefiting. You know, it's not like, hey, the money goes away. You know,
that's great.
You know, make it or lose it type thing.
So for the audience, how long did it take you, and what shot was it?
It took me, I think it was, you know, around 5 minutes, and it was my 5th shot.
And how many days, just for people that don't know, because for sure the people that aren't golfers, he'd been doing this challenge for 16 days.
16 days.
He got his
but
was
each day he got a shot,
an
extra shot.
Right. So you know, day 5 would have been the first time he got 5 back to back tries on it.
Right.
So you know, day 1, 1 shot, day 2, 2 shots, so on and so forth. And I think it was on day 16, 14th shot. It was 134 shots. And I got
before you came on and we knew you were going to be here. I had seen some of it, but I didn't watch some of his days and how he would react and sort of what you talk about. So the house, I can see the house, right? Same spot. When they told you this is everything that was going to happen, you mentioned like the cameras and stuff, but you have confidence in your golf game. Did that change anything from you, or did you just go out and be naturally who you've been as a golfer?
You kind of just lock in. You know, I always say it happens for me when I go play golf in a tournament, the first tee ball is always the most nerve-wracking because you feel like you have to hit it good. But once you get past that, it's very much you're just playing golf. And I've been doing that my entire life. And so for me, the first shot was very intimidating. Get it over the nets that they had to protect the house, get it over the house, and then you can kind of adjust. But shots 2 through 5 were very much now we're just playing golf. Now we just get to lock in.
Was there no way to hit the house?
There was a way.
Yeah.
There was a way. You could have you could have flubbed one over the first net or the net right in front of you, and it could have hit the windows. You could also, chunk one where it hits the roof or something.
There's a lot of windows on that house.
A lot of windows. Even with the nets, it was still intimidating to look at. They're kind of like you're just all you see is.
Was he hitting? Was he hitting with nets?
No.
Yeah,
no,
he wasn't.
No.
Yeah, okay, that's why. So
which I don't blame him.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy he was doing it anyway. But I guess if he breaks his own window, he's fine with it, right?
I did ask him. I said, okay, what happens if I break a window or mess up the house? And he was great. He was like, I will pay for everything. Yeah. Do not worry about it. Like, it is on me. I don't care what you signed. Like, I will cover those costs. And so that takes some of the pressure off, but you still don't want to be the guy on a YouTube video, like smashing a window. But, although that might've been a bigger hit. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, so with that in mind, right? Like John had mentioned, and I was excited. I mean, we've had all kinds of different guests. This is fascinating, right? Because we've talked a little bit about social media with some of our guests. I don't know what your relationship is with social media or even like, overnight, right? I mean, I saw you were on the Golf Channel, right? Mm-hmm. You probably had a lot of interviews, right? I don't know if that's died down or what that means or how that is. I mean, I'm sure people see you and know you now. It's kind of a thing for the rest. But what was that experience like for you?
It was different. I'm very much a taker of social media, not necessarily a giver to social media. So I always like to tell people I like to fly under the radar. I like to just like handle my own business and kind of just fly under the radar. And this blew my cover big time because, like you said, Golf Channel, I did an interview with ABC in Fresno. There's, you're on all these social media. You log into Instagram and it's just, you see yourself. And it's a really weird and it kind of shocks the system a little bit. But it was neat as well. So for about 4 to 5 days post the video posting, it was wild. My phone, like, I would talk to my friend for 10 minutes and I'd look down and I'd have 50 text messages.
Oh my God.
And I'm still getting people today that, follow me on Instagram because, they happened upon the video. So you watch all these people go through like these viral moments and you're like, I wonder what that feels like. And it's just a shock to the system for me. Like I said, I'm a pretty low profile guy, and I didn't really know how to handle it. It was fun. I will tell you, it was really fun. My friends were the best. They were gassing me up constantly. If you look at comments, it's like all my friends just gassing me up. And I was like, that's the power of community and friendship right there. And it was neat because a real fun story was my mother-in-law. She was back at lunch and the table next to her was these two guys, and one of the guys was showing his friend the video, and it's my mother was like, that's my son-in-law. My father-in-law's dentist was talking about it, and he's like, that's my son-in-law. So it was just you hear these stories, and I think the coolest thing though was just the people who I hadn't talked to in a long time. So like my golf coach from high school reached out. My junior year high school English teacher had reached out. Just these people that you grew up with that you haven't talked to. They were like, that's the coolest thing. And they were so excited.
Well, Jimmy, guys like us that have hole-in-ones.
Guys like us that have club championships.
When you have a hole-in-one, Jimmy, I mean, it's and yours, it's very different than mine, obviously. But
what means more, a club championship or a hole-in-one to you?
Oh,
setting aside the viral, this one, like. Let's be honest.
Outside of this hole-in-one, a club championship meant a lot.
Yeah,
it meant a lot. I'm sorry, Scott.
I could buy that. No, Jimmy, you're okay. I competed in my club championship in a flight. I cannot say that I've won that, but what I will say is, I think what John's asking is and what I'm thinking about is that your first hole-in-one?
So it's up for debate. So I made a hole in quotes. I'm going to air quote it because I want to get y'all's thoughts on this. Yeah. I made it not
a hole in one.
It's very binary.
Were you by yourself?
No. It was at a par 3 course at Pinehurst, and the shot was probably 60 yards.
That's a hole in one. It's a hole in one. If yours was
here it is, Pinehurst.
But it's just their par 3 course is almost like a chip shot.
But you hit over a house that wasn't a real hole either.
That's
right? So like, what are we talking about? I mean, at some certain point, a distance away, it's so that's my question is, how much of it, you said I'm a golf prowess, and I thought, I did pretty good in the round I played, but so people often say, is it lucky or is it skill? And I would argue we've talked about that both.
I'd agree. I think it's both. I think it takes some sort of skill to be able to get the ball to the hole. right? A person who picks up the club for the first time most likely isn't going to get the ball to the hole. So there is some skill involved in that, but you have to have everything go right for you.
That's right.
And if you watch my shot, I land it left. It with a little cut spin, it moves off to the right, and you just have to hope you got that distance right on that one shot with the right amount of spin. So I'd agree. It's both. That's how I would answer that. I don't know what the percentages are. Maybe 50-50. But you need both of those for sure.
So reading about you, I thought it was interesting. You know, I wonder, and I've had my own experiences, of course, having a heart transplant. As I learned about you and your other, you know, I know that you're a financial planner. Hopefully this has helped your business. People are like, yeah, I want to work with that guy. That's a good story, right? Everybody has a story and people will remember that.
Yeah.
Can't hurt you. But in your personal life, you mentioned your children. First of all, how did your family respond? And I think, as I read, you've had some challenges. So we talk about luck and how things happen and why they happen. Sometimes it certainly has been a big part of my life. Do you ever think like, wow, what you're battling, and, you know, and I don't want to talk for you, but just read a little bit about your own personal health battles, and you have a child, you have 3 children, right? But one has been battling something.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't believe in coincidences. I think that everything that happens in life happens for a reason. And whether we know what that reason is now, we may know what that reason is now, but we may not find that out for a long period of time. I might ramble on this piece, okay. but I go back to, so my son, who's 7, Beckett, he was born with a rare genetic abnormality. It's called Emmanuel syndrome. It's where, if anyone who's listening to this knows a bunch about this, they might say I'm wrong, like in terms of like the exact verbiage of it. But his 11th and his 22nd chromosome, they switched in an unbalanced translocation. So his 22nd has like extra pieces to it. And so when we got told that back in 2017, there were only 500 known cases in the world. And so your range of outcomes is pretty wide. What's really cool is that National Emmanuel Syndrome Day is November 22nd, the same day that my wife and I got married back in 2014. So our wedding anniversary, which we just celebrated 10 years last year, which is fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Is the same day as National Emmanuel Syndrome Day. Super cool. And I don't believe that's a coincidence. I believe that Beckett is our son for a reason, right? He had a trach, a breathing tube, and a G button, a feeding tube for about a year. And then when he got that out on September 18th of 2018, about 5-6 weeks later, I found out I had testicular cancer. And so, you know, it feels like life's throwing you a bunch of punches, and it feels like my wife and I have been married for 4 or 5 years, and we're having to make really big decisions. We had to grow up fast, right? You know, at 26, we're having to talk about, is our son going to live, right? And so if I get a little emotional, that's because, you know, I think when we got to his first year of life, we had this big birthday party because we were celebrating life. We were celebrating his life. And so, you know, and I can go through even more stories with the cancer and the chemo of just how I don't believe those things don't happen for a reason, because it has changed who I am as a husband, as a father, as a friend, as a coworker, in my job as a financial planner, right? How I provide advice might look a little bit different than maybe the typical advice. And so I am grateful for those moments because they've shaped who I am today and they've made me a better person. Would I don't want to go through them again? No, don't get me wrong. They weren't necessarily fun, but I'm grateful for them because I know I'm a better person on the back end. And so being able to go to a moment like this and this hole-in-one, it's unique because I have gratitude for being able to be able to do something like Scott, I've read about you as well. You get to do these things. You get to have another day. You get to celebrate. And so it's just shifted my perspective on virality. Going viral is awesome. Did I have an amazing time? It was so great. But more importantly, my kids are healthy. My wife is awesome. And I'm healthy. And so it just gives you a perspective in life that allows you to just be grateful for the opportunities and be grateful for every day. And And so I think that's the fun part. My favorite part of the video I did say it was up there with my wedding day, which it was pretty close. It was pretty close. Was FaceTiming our family, my family, and getting to talk to them in the video, because my wife and I, Katie and I, we had watched all of the Bryson videos, all 16 days. Yeah. We would text each other about it, be like, did you see the one that went in and went out? And she's like, I can't believe it. And so I got to tell her that I got to do the shot, and she was pumped. And then you see she's holding our newborn. My daughter comes up and couldn't care less about what I was talking about. Right. She just wanted to see dad. Our other son was in the back with the flu, and so she's battling these 3 kids at home, and one's with the flu. And but that was my favorite part, because getting to experience life with them is so life filling for me.
How now, like, how was he? Like, obviously you followed him. He's got a lot of fans, and he's very polarizing. And I think it's been interesting just as a golf fan to watch him. But his reaction, I read about you and his reaction to you, which really, you liked his reaction. Yeah. Like, I think he was probably blown away. Like, here he was, he did it, and you did it in 5 shots. Have you kept up with him since? Is there a relationship to be had post this, or is this a one-time thing?
Bryson was awesome. He made me feel like $1 million the entire time I was there. A random dude at his house on New Year's Eve. He's planning on being there for 7 hours. Mm-hmm. I mean, the entire time I was there, I stayed for a few hours as well, and till about 3 o'clock, and we had lunch, and we just hung out, us and the film crew and Bryson, and we played horse and threw the frisbee, all these types of things. It was really, really neat, and the entire time he was engaged. He made me feel like I was the star, and you just don't have to do that. And I've followed golf my entire life. I'm a golf junkie. I've played since I was 6. It's, when you're 5'9" and overweight, not a lot of sports tend to go your way.
I don't know what that feels like. Jimmy, I have no idea what that feels like.
And so I've really, I have followed along. And if we're being completely honest, there was called the 2020, 2021. He's the villain of the PGA Tour before he had moved over to LIV. And that's kind of what the media is portraying to you. And I believed it, and then you see his shift over to LIV, the ability for him to start this YouTube channel, to be himself. And I had shifted over to me like, this guy is fun. He's excited. His US Open win at Pinehurst. Yeah. I mean, they called him the people's champ. It was like, I was rooting for him. That was really, really cool. And so one of the coolest things I think he told me was, somehow it got mentioned, now you gotta, watch LIV. And Bryson paused, whoever said that, I forgot who said that, but he paused him and said, no, you root for the game of golf. The game of golf is what's important. And there's a lot of different areas that you can do that in. LIV is one of them. The tour is one of them. TGL and all these different areas that you can do. But he's like, he wants to grow the game of golf. To answer your direct question, we messaged a couple times. We haven't talked a ton since. I've once they sent the wire, which was really fun to get. It was it's communications.
Has DeChambeau taught you anything?
Yeah, I had a similar experience. What I've enjoyed watching him is trying to on his own personal journey to in this day and age to be what you want to be versus what you think the world expects you to be. And then landing to where you suggested, which I'm glad to hear, is be who you are. Mm-hmm. And I think he was going through a metamorphosis, how he was very scientific about his clubs and his style of play and how he went about it. So that's why I enjoyed watching. I can't help but think, John, that Jimmy and I and Bryson, assuming this, we're going to try to help you get a hole. We're going to figure out a challenge for you.
Yeah, and I think here's what DeChambeau's taught me, and I've only watched him play one time. I watched him play at Pinehurst, and I've heard a lot about him. Yeah. But when I watched him at Pinehurst, what he taught me was hit your drive as far as you can. Yeah. He doesn't care where it goes. It's like get it as far down as you can, because he was constantly playing from tough places. Always. But he was way down the course.
Yeah. That Sunday, I don't know if he hit more than a couple fairways. He was, but he was closer than everybody.
He is definitely got people thinking about. I like guys that disrupt for this, and I don't think he was for the sake of being disruptive. I think he actually, and so I think that's awesome. I hope sometime we get a chance to talk to him. But it's so great that you're here. I'm excited and love how just this whole story is so fascinating.
To connect with today's guest, Jimmy Elliott, you can follow him on Instagram. His handle @JElliott914.
Okay, we have like 9 topics in there.
I don't know. I don't know who put them.
And they want. I think they suggest we should pick 2. I think what we should do is show them all and let them pick. Let's just kind of negotiate what we talk about.
Okay, this is different. We have that's fine.
It's like we're gambling.
Okay, would you like to know what they are?
Sure, I'd love to.
Men's health is like a game show, like Jeopardy. Prodigal son.
Well, let's hear 'em.
What is hard? These are John's.
Ooh, gosh.
Texas A&M. Being a dad.
Ooh.
All right, how about I get to take one out?
Do you know what? I'm
Men's health. Good night.
okay.
Do I get to take one out?
Sure.
I'm going to take out prodigal son.
Okay. So then we have 3. Let's just do 3.
Okay. That's what we usually do. Okay.
We can do A&M quick.
Yeah.
There's not much to talk. There ain't much to talk about. Here, why don't you go ahead and cover A&M? What do you want to talk about?
Texas A&M is awesome. I will say I was there for 5 years because I did the Masters of Accounting program. The best thing that came from A&M are my friends. I lived in a house with 5 guys, and there was another house with 5 guys. There's 10 of us, and the grooms from my wedding, the guys who checked on me during cancer, the guys who checked on me when we were in the hospital with our son, guys who I still talk to every single day, best friends. A great place to find community.
So Jimmy, we talk a lot on the podcast because John is a SMU graduate. He's got a child at Texas.
I'll concede that.
You're just going to take that, accept it?
But we can still talk about it, but I'm conceding what he said.
Yeah.
Those are good points.
I want you to put your hands up on the table. So I met a lot of A&M graduates. I'm a Dallas native. I'm a UT guy. Surprisingly, I was sad when they got the divorce. I was the one guy like, this is terrible. I'm glad we're back together.
Mm-hmm.
I have always found one of the most important things. I love tradition. That ring you're wearing, when I meet a guy who doesn't wear one, but I know they went to A&M, I dismiss them. I'm like, what are you doing? And now all these other colleges, including my own, will give like high school graduation rings.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you bought one of those.
I did.
I didn't.
I did. I still have it. I'll bring it for show and tell next time. I do. I still have that. My high school ring? Yeah, like jewelry. I mean, like Liberace. Anyways, I think it's a really cool tradition, and I think A&M has some amazing tradition, like even more in Texas with the core, some of the things. And so as a person outside of A&M, I visited Kyle Field on the bonfire year. I just think the campus, what should be a rival, I have a lot of respect for it. We don't talk about it a lot.
Is it a rivalry or is it a one-sided rivalry?
Ooh. Yeah,
Jimmy?
Well, I think we call it a rivalry, and I think Texas doesn't.
Well, your fight song talks a lot about Texas. Texas says nothing about A&M. It talks about OU.
I do love the Texas A&M, and Texas Tech. Like, we're Texas Tech's mad as hell at both of you guys. Y'all are mad at them. And like, y'all maybe Oklahoma or anybody who's really good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're talking about Texas Tech. No disrespect.
I love
Until we get somebody on here, I'll change my tune for Texas Tech. But a lot of respect for A&M. I happen to work with a guy who was a golf coach there right now, former golf coach. And we have a friend whose daughter, I believe, is going to play golf there.
Is it JT Higgins?
Zweig.
Yeah, Avery Zweig. Who? Okay. But generally speaking, lots of respect for A&M, contrary to what a lot of Texas people think. So, okay, John.
What is hard?
Well, I'd like for you to.
I asked the question. I don't know if I have an answer yet.
Well, as I walked in here today, Jimmy, while you're thinking about it, when you guys weren't in here, prioritizing sometimes is hard for me. I'm struggling with it right now.
In what way?
You know, there's so many things as a result of my life that I want to do. Like, I think I call it survivor's euphoria. Like somebody that might survive a plane crash or something. Every single day I wake up and I'm like, why am I here? And there's so many things I want to do. And I don't set boundaries because I don't want to do them all. I just want to do as many things as I can, including this podcast, being with you. That's right now really hard for me. So that's hard.
That's cool.
I think that's interesting because, we fill our days with so much time, right? Like in my personal life, my faith is really important to me. My family, being a husband, being a father, being a friend, being a good coworker. I want to have hobbies. I want to work out. I got 7 things I just named off really quick that I need to fill my day with that I want to do and I want to be good at. And so it's a self-introspection of saying, am I good at any of those, or am I average at all of them? And so it's a prior, and I'm just piggybacking off you saying, okay, what am I prioritizing in my life? What's the most important? What's the 1 through 7? And does my day or does my life reflect that priority?
Yeah.
I think that's really hard.
What's hard for you? What is that? Right.
Well, I think what's hard for all of us is battling with yourself. It's just like getting through your own head. I think that's what's probably the hardest thing all the time.
Yeah.
Mastering yourself.
I've been struggling with it, so it's kind of the same thing. I'm glad you said it. And I think as guys, right, we feel pulled in a lot of different directions depending on where we are. It's kind of for me, I feel like it feels like a moving target. But
Just so my daughter doesn't get upset with me, why is this unique to guys?
I'm glad you asked. That comes up. It's not. It's just that we happen to be guys here. That's the only thing that's unique, is that we're 3 guys.
We're tough. We're tough guys.
Yeah, we are.
Let's be clear.
Well,
We're tough guys.
And John, 2 of us have had a hole-in-one, and that ain't hard.
Titles.
That ain't hard, John. That ain't hard.
It's lucky.
Yeah, it ain't hard. It ain't hard. All right. Last topic. I'll pull it out. Being a dad.
Being a dad is so hard, but so rewarding. I get home each day, and it's probably the best part of my day because my kids yell "Dad's home" and give me a hug and are excited to see me, and that brings me so much joy. But it is so hard, going back to what I just said, making sure that being a dad is a priority in my life, because it's easy to get unfocused on that, to find success in work or business, or find success in hobbies, or being good at golf, which is what I want to be good at golf. But none of those things are as rewarding to me internally as walking through that door and seeing my kids' faces light up most of the time, unless they've been bad that day. But, lighting up and seeing that dad's home. It's hard because you have to choose that, I think, over other things that might be easier to choose. But it, in my opinion, is the most rewarding.
I've recently been saying to a lot of my friends, we don't get report cards as parents. We don't get report cards, and we shouldn't grade our own papers. So I'm doing the best job to prepare my daughters. I have basically adult daughters now, and I could tell you how great they are and brag about them. I'm extremely proud of the girls, but it's a completely selfless thing. And quite frankly, in my life, it's what you talk about golf and our professional. I think it's the thing I've done best. Whether I grade my own papers or not, I'm proud of the job I've done. I know I put everything into it to try to be the best version of myself. The most rewarding thing is when others experience your child and they tell you like that's the only report card we ever get. And you get that from teachers at PTA meetings and open houses. And as they grow to a certain age, other adults like your friends experience them. And then when I have one in the world working now, watching her, she just got a new job this week. It's like, wow, she's really like, well done, So that's pretty rewarding because you pour so much into that. It's emotional, it's physical. What about you?
Listen to both of you. I remember my mother screaming at Chris and me frequently that she didn't care if we were happy, she cared if we're good. She just over and over and over. And then we're talking about being a dad. Stan talks about, to be a good dad, you have to be a good person. To be a good person, you have to control your self-centeredness. And you mentioned like self-centeredness a second ago. So I like to think more about like the concept of it, but it's not easy. Like being like, what's hard, maybe being a parent can be hard.
Yeah, well, I will say one funny thing to you guys, and I think our audience will appreciate this. I was watching Nikki Glaser, who's a comedian, and in her recent special, she talks about bad moms. There's the movie Bad Moms, and she goes through her bit for 29 minutes, and the last thing she says is she's talking about moms because she doesn't want to be a mom, at least in the special, and she says at the very end, as she's making fun of bad moms, she said even the very worst bad mom is better than the best dad.
One thing about golf, bringing this to being a dad, is that I've learned playing how self-centered I can be. Yeah. And it comes out in golf. And so I feel like playing golf and trying to be more self-aware or more aware of others, less focused on yourself, because the game requires that at times. The graces of the game require you to be aware of what the other player's doing.
Yeah.
I think it makes perhaps it makes you a better father.
Yeah, that is one thing about golf. It's a lot of thinking. You know, you do a lot of thinking on the course. You see how others are. We talk about our kids when you're on the course. It's obviously a topic like what's your kid doing, right? So we know that's why, besides the game and getting good at it, it is what we talked about in our last episode with the guys at Golf Roots about being together. One final question for you, if it's okay. I can't help but think, with everything you've been through, sort of what a neat experience the hole-in-one was, and of course your own personal health battles and your child. What are you going to do with the money? What does it mean to you now? I mean, just curious. Like, if you want, and it wasn't a small sum of money, and you mentioned it was going to go to charity. Just curious.
Yeah. No, that's probably one of the top two questions that people ask. Is, you know, one being, how did you get involved, and two, what are you going to do with the money? And for us, we are definitely giving some of the money away to charity. I've said it before, and I fully believe it. You know, we are blessed to be a blessing. And so I think, you know, there are some charities that are near and dear to our heart that we want to give money to and support. We want to spend a little bit now. We're doing a little some stuff to our backyard. So that kind of helps that cost out. And then y'all know kids are expensive, and I got 3 of them now. And so saving for the future. So it's kind of like 3 buckets. We're going to spend a little bit, we're going to save a bit of it, and then we're going to give away some of it as well.
Putting green in the backyard?
Yeah, we are adding a putting. We are adding a putting green in the backyard. So maybe it's the hole-in-one over my house next time for the
Good.
video.
We'll bring John out.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, John,
Great.
Yeah, been great. Thanks for coming on the playground.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing your story. Excited to follow your career and stay in touch with you. And just thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, fellas.